Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited coming at you with another Nitro take. This one for another WWE Network special, another NXT Takeover. It's NXT Takeover 31 live from the Capitol Wrestling Center for the first time under that moniker, but it is the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, just under a new name and new imaging for sure. The event took place on October 4th, 2020, and here are my takes on my favorite moments from the card, and feel free to throw your opinion of the card below in the comments, or hit me up on Twitter at Kellen Nitro. If you like the video, pass it around to your friends, and let them know that we are here. And the channel is always here 24/7. You can come out and check out any of the content on the channel as you wish. So after an amazing opening video that kind of highlighted the history of the Capitol Wrestling Corporation, i.e. the namesake of the Capitol Wrestling Center, basically highlighted what I thought was really cool by a letter that I think Vince McMahon Sr. sent to the NWA Board of Directors in the late 70s, kind of outlining his purpose for the Capitol Wrestling Corporation. It might have even been earlier than that, like maybe even the 50s or 60s or something like that, because it had Tits Mont as a co-signer on the letter as well. So I think that might have went back to the 50s or the 60s. Go back to the video, you can check it out. Yeah, it was really neat, and the big marquee is always professional wrestling, and with NXT kind of being the more professional wrestling centric brand of any WWE product, I think it's a good fit for sure. But it is the Capitol Wrestling Center. It basically is the repurposed Performance Center with brand new imaging. What they've basically done is they've taken some video boards and put them up along the walls of the Performance Center. If you remember what it looked like for, say, WrestleMania, it's drastically different now. The fan is gone from the roof. At least it's covered up with pipe and drape. You can't see it. There's a bigger television screen in the back, or bigger Titantron now for entrances and everything. A little bit of neon now, and the CWC, the Capitol Wrestling Center, or Capitol Wrestling Corporation logo is on both sides of the Titantron. There's, like I said, a lot of neon highlights and stuff. Fans. This building is designed for fans. Not a lot of fans, but that's what they wanted. They wanted to build it for fans. Full Sail said no way to having fans. And so to get around that, that's why they said, well, we own a building. Let's just go back to that building and we'll have fans there. So it'll be a small amount of fans combined with, a Thunderdome-esque Zoom fan thing for fans from around the world to sign up and get in with. And that's much like Raw and SmackDown. But this is going to be the new home for NXT for the next little while. This is going to be where they originate on Wednesday nights. And think of this as more of this takeover. I'm going to preface this by saying did not feel like a takeover. It felt more like a season premiere, if that makes sense. It didn't feel like this was building up or culminating to anything. This kind of felt like the kickstart of stuff that might be storylines going forward, with a lot of returning superstars tonight and a lot of wrestlers making their NXT quote-unquote takeover debuts and so on and so forth. But anyway, Vic Joseph welcomes us and is joined on color by Beth Phoenix and Wade Barrett, but we don't see Beth Phoenix nor Wade Barrett on color. We see two stand-ins, more on the stand-ins, I should say, a little later on, but it seems like Beth and Wade were socially distanced throughout this thing. And it seemed like Beth and Wade were both socially distanced throughout this thing, maybe even reporting remotely. Maybe they weren't even on site. But the call and the action, other than that little foible, a little bit of weirdness at ringside, and that's up when he went to the announcer desk shots, and you just saw Vic there, and then you look off into the distance in the background is Vic, and it's totally different looking woman than what Beth looks like, and a totally different man than what Wade looks like in the background. You didn't notice any of the differences at all. NXT North American title was the first match on the card. The champion Damian Priest taking on the challenger Johnny Gargano. Of course, the storyline is the Gargano family, i.e. Johnny and his wife Candice LeRae. We're aiming on this takeover to be NXT's first ever husband and wife champions in respective with respective belts, I guess. Candice is going for the NXT Women's title later on in the card, and this is Johnny's opportunity for a belt here. Fairly decent opener. The audio mix seemed a bit off, though. Yeah, the crowd noise at times kind of dipped and wavered until they found that happy medium with the canned crowd noise and the noise coming off of the Skype call and the in-house noise from the NXT trainees and everything. So once they found that happy medium, it wasn't during this match, it was the next match after. I'm sure that once they go over this in post, they'll be all fixed and everything will be groovy. So Priest is actually a heck of a babyface. I enjoyed him, though, more as a heel, yes, throughout his runs in Ring of Honor. And now here in NXT, I think he is a better heel than he is a face, but he is pulling off the face role very well. It was then that I noticed the gimmick Wade Barrett and Beth Phoenix at ringside. Unsure who the male stand-in was, but Twitter says the female was independent wrestler from MLW, Casey Lennox. So good for her on a payday and getting on a major WWE show. Yes. Again, if you looked off in the distance, Beth Phoenix doesn't have a dye job red hair happening at all. And this woman was quite a bit smaller than Beth, it looked like, as well. And sitting on Joseph's right, that obviously wasn't Wade Barrett. The fella sitting to the right of him looked a little bit more slight than Wade does, and a little shorter as well. So kind of weird again, but maybe they're working on having a remote announce team. Maybe that's what the whole purpose of that was. The brawl to the outside was fun, with Priest trying a South of Heaven attempt, but being thwarted. He has to settle for a razor edge on the apron. Yes, the action goes back into the ring, and then a little bit later, a standing sliced bread and a forearm only nets 2 for Gargano. Gargano attempts one final beat on the outside, but is thwarted, and then another South of Heaven attempt is successful by Priest, but only nets a 2 count. Priest then attempts a dive to the outside and takes out some security instead, allows Gargano to hit a low blow, only 2. One final beat attempt countered into the Reckoning, and 1-2-3, Priest retains the North American title. The runtime for this one was a 18:39 for that one, and it's my favorite match on the card. This was an amazing opener. This was an amazing match for both individuals. Probably the best match either gentleman has had here in 2020. Gargano did the cinematic thing with Ciampa, Tommaso Ciampa, the one final beat to kind of solidify his heel turn earlier on in the year, I should say, right after WrestleMania. And that in itself felt good. But again, that was a cinematic. That wasn't a match. This year was a match. This was great. Really competitive thing. Just under the 20-minute mark, like I said, with an 18:38, and go forth and destroy. It was amazing. Next contest, Kushida taking on the Velveteen Dream, and this was a great back and forth that ended with Kushida countering the DVD and getting the 1-2-3. The runtime for this one was 13 minutes. And the match itself was good, but the big deal was it solidified Kushida's heel turn. Post-match, Kushida jumps the Velveteen Dream and locks in, I know it as the hoverboard lock on his arm from New Japan Pro Wrestling days and that stuff. And storyline-wise, basically breaks Dream's arm. That's a great way to get him over storyline-wise as a heel. Now, with Dream's 2020 outside of the ring, some people would say, hey, I wish his arm was broken for real. But still, I think that a heel Kushida is going to be very interesting to see going forward on NXT TV. I didn't write a lot of notes down on this match just because I enjoyed this one. This was something that I didn't really poke holes in or anything. It was good amount of time, good match, good spots in it. And Kushida you could see him kind of slowly turning throughout the match, and the match was about him. So at the end of it, post-match, he, basically goes full out heel. So amazing stuff. NXT Halloween Havoc on October 28th, hosted by Shotzi Blackheart. Don't know what to feel about that, but looking at the calendar for the month of October, I do see that, yes, October 28th is a Wednesday. It is a ratings grab for the Wednesday Night War, trying to claw back some of the numbers that NXT has been losing from AEW. So, does it warrant a PVR record spot that night? Yes. Will I watch it live? Probably not. Mostly because I'm Canadian. So the first time I see NXT First Run is on the Encore at 8 o'clock on the WWE Network when it streams as its replay again. So I love the fight banners everybody has in their backstage kind of warm-up vignettes and that stuff. It kind of gives it like a UFC feel. Everybody's got kind of their own design on their banners and that stuff, and I'm sure this will be something that you'll be able to pick up in the Shop Zone or WWEshop.com, I should say. Shop Zone, wow. Holy 90s, Kellen. But yeah, you can probably pick those up in a few weeks or so, or something that, they'll autograph. You can pick up on eBay or something. So, more merchandising, which WWE loves to do, so. NXT Cruiserweight title, the next belt on the line. The champion Santos Escobar taking on Isaiah Swerve Scott. Nice little callback to Scott's kill shot, Lucha Underground history. Good ad by Beth Phoenix off the opening, yes. Legato del Fantasma with him. It is Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza with Santos Escobar. Yes, this is the faction that's been running Ruckshot on 205 Live and the NXT Cruiserweight title. So a real stalemate early on. Scott working on Escobar's arm really on, inflicting damage with a couple of arm bars. Rolling Thunder Flatliner only nets 2 for Scott. So later on in the match, Wilde and Mendoza interfere and Escobar hits a shoulder breaker, which only nets a 2 count. Ashante Adonis runs down and runs off Wilde and Mendoza. More on Ashante a little bit later on, but it seems like Isaiah Swerve Scott has got an ally now with him on 205 Live. He hasn't had that over the past weeks in the war with Legato here. Phantom Driver by Escobar, only 2. And he lands his finish, Swerve's finish, I should say, the house call into the 450 splash, but only a 2 count for Swerve, and he reacts accordingly. What a great reaction off of him for that. Escobar, though, gets the 1-2 free after thwarting a suplex attempt on the outside. Swerve goes head first into the outside exposed ring post and a double underhook facebuster for the win. And the runtime for this one ended up being a 15-14. So a good match again. Haven't really watched a lot of 205 Live lately. Haven't really watched a lot of that end and the NXT Cruiserweight title and so on and so forth. Does that basically equal no knowledge of it, or just kind of dropping into nowhere on it? Yeah, basically. So the only time I really take a look at this is maybe on the off episode of NXT where something around the belt is happening, or you hear about it or you see it on a takeover like this. I don't think this has had the desired effect at this point in the game, a few months in. But it's not their fault. I think that you keep up with this until we can get fans back into the stands and that stuff, and then you can figure out what you want to do with your cruiserweight division or not. If you want to cut the whole thing loose, or just basically make it a separate division on NXT and cut 205 Live from programming or what have you. So next contest was for the NXT Women's Championship. The champion Io Shirai took on the challenger Candice LeRae. This was a great package that ran prior to the match. Basically, this entire match is stemming from the NXT Takeover on April 6th, again from the Performance Center, but the end of the number one contenders ladder match, and Takeover Toronto 2 from August of 2019 last year. So the two have had history before. But this is kind of the rematch that's been more than a year in the making, but they've had interactions during that year, including a fairly significant one during that ladder match. So, again, very old school build to this, very, very passable, very fun. They see all the packages from all the past episodes and everything. It looks great. This is a fairly even contest as the two trade near falls off the start. A backstabber and a lion stalled combo by Lorray only nets a 2 count off the beginning. Shirai locks in a crossface, but Lorray reverses and attempts a crossface of her own. Lorray inadvertently knocks out the ref, and the ref gets wiped out by an Io Shirai flying elbow. And then Lorray hits her finisher, the Wicked Stepsister, but no ref for a free count. But Johnny Gargano runs down. Remember, like I had said earlier, that Gargano and Lorray were trying to be the first husband and wife co-champions in NXT. Well, the first couple to hold belts at the same time. Gargano runs down with a referee shirt, and that nets a 2 count. I'm not sure if the pinfall would have counted, but there goes the heels doing what heels are doing here at this point. That allows Gargano to go outside and grab the title belt and sneak it into the match, and Lorray clocks Shirai with the belt, but only nets a 2 from the legit ref, the ref that got wiped out prior to, but has miraculously come to at this point. WWE, everybody. Spanish Fly and a moonsault from the top by Shirai nets the 1-2 free. And so the runtime for this match was 16:45, and like I said, I don't go through all the spots or anything in these things. I just pick out highlights that I like during this contest and the major points and present it to you guys, and you guys can nitpick over the real fine tooth comb of everything here. But very passable match. I'd have to go back because I don't have much of a memory of the Shirai Lorray match from last August in Toronto, but I'm sure it was a similar deal to this. But Candice was a face at that point. Did it move the needle for me? Not really, but was it fun to watch? Yeah, it was definitely a very visually appealing match. A lot of fun. Johnny coming in was as a comedic heel in this match was actually pretty good, but also kind of devious at the same time. Post match though, Toni Storm shows up on the video board and she announces that she's back on NXT. And then we didn't see a video of a biker make their way around the Performance Center and into the building. She emerges on stage, takes off the helmet, and it's Ember Moon. So 2 new contenders for Io's belt. I anticipate at the next takeover, which I believe is Survivor Series weekend. It typically is. I think that's the War Games takeover that it traditionally is, if they decide to go that route this year. I'm not sure, but maybe a triple threat, maybe a fatal 4-way if you work Candice into this. But hey, Candice, Io, Toni, and Ember Moon in a fatal 4-way. Hey, sign me up for that. I'm looking forward more to that than anything off of this. So there we go. Backstage, Mackenzie Mitchell interviews Ashante Adonis from earlier on, and he says he'll help Swerve out against Legato, and there we go. So Swerve has a buddy. Main event time, the NXT title, where you have the champion Finn Balor taking on the challenger Kyle O'Reilly. And I love the behind-the-scenes lead-up and walk-up. This has a legit fight feel, something like off of UFC Fight Night or something. It was very cool. Balor on a 5-match winning streak going into this one. They kept it amateur early on. Lots of amateur mat work by Balor and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by O'Reilly. So both guys sticking with what brought them to the dance and what they know best. So BJJ being the background of Kyle O'Reilly, and amateur wrestling somewhat. Well, he's developed into a technician due to New Japan and everything by Balor. So there we go. Balor then goes to work on O'Reilly's midsection, hard hitting as O'Reilly's mouth gets busted open. Balor locks in a sharpshooter, and O'Reilly gets to the ropes. And later on, there's a Pele kick by Balor, but O'Reilly answers back with a clothesline. 1916 by Balor only nets a 2 count. Heel hook by O'Reilly locked in, and Balor scratching and clawing to the rope, so no submission for O'Reilly off of that. And the finish, the coup de grace by Balor, nets a 1-2 free, and Finn Balor retains the NXT title in a very entertaining 28-28, so almost 30 minutes for both those guys, but it was a quality 30 minutes. You had no idea where this thing was going to go one way or another. So for Kyle O'Reilly's coming out party in the main event scene on NXT, this was a big thumbs up coming out of the tag division, and his I guess, first big significant singles match for a title on the NXT brand. Look for more with him later on, maybe as kind of a breakaway from Undisputed Era when the time comes or whatever. This was great. And Balor just remains to be that heel, cocky champion and just looks unstoppable at this point. Balor may have had a broken or cracked jaw thanks to O'Reilly. I know his lip was shredded, so very gruesome but rough main event. Well liked, yes, for sure. Post-match, respect shown as Balor helps up O'Reilly, but then we look and Adam Cole from the Undisputed Era is dumped unceremoniously over the ringside barricade by newcomer Ridge Holland. And this was Holland's kind of coming out party, and he's obviously taken aim at either Adam Cole or the entire Undisputed Era here. So this will be very interesting to see what happens with Holland versus the Undisputed Era going forward. And we go off the air with medical attendants treating both O'Reilly and mostly Cole as we go to black. And the runtime for this, if you're watching this on the network, 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 22 seconds. So a very tidy, very short-ish show. So you only need about 2.5 hours to watch this. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Again, really didn't feel like a takeover. It felt more like a season premiere of NXT than anything else. Like more of like an NXT special than anything. A lot of this didn't seem much different than what they would give you on a Wednesday night. Not a lot of stipulations in these matches. In fact, these were all fairly straight up wrestling matches here. So there's no DQ, no nothing. A lot of this stuff. This was 4 out of 5 matches were title matches. But the 5th match was also very important because it solidified a heel turn. So for a mid-card character on NXT with Kushida. So it accomplished what it needed to accomplish. Like I said, though, does it have the rewatchability? I don't think so. But that opening contest you'll probably want to rewatch again just because it's fun. And it is a good match. And yeah, that's basically all I've got for this one. This was just, this again didn't feel like a takeover. Felt more like a season premiere. All right, folks, later days. Happy wrestling watching. I'm Kellen Nitro. Like, subscribe, share, comment below. And we'll see you next time on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. I've got the September vlog coming your way sometime this week. I'm going to outline a few tweaks to the channel, and that's I'm going to try and generate a little bit more on the subscription front going forward. So you might see some changes to how this stuff is presented in the future. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. All right. Take care, guys.